Hi, I'm Aidan. I'm with the Open Innovation Lab, and I'm here to give you a 10-minute tour through what we do. So the Open Innovation Lab is a 4 to 12 week intensive residency. We'll take customers, pair them with our Red Hat experts, our developers, architects, and then we'll come together to deliver a real working product. Lots of teams already have things like design thinking. People know about Agile. People have their own technology stacks. What really makes the Innovation Lab unique is the way that we bring our culture to your customer. So if you'll see here, we'll start off at the beginning of our residencies creating a social contract. This enables the team to really gel as one. 4 weeks isn't that much time together, so we really want to make sure that you're high performing and enjoying yourself while you're here. So for example, here we've got some comments like, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Listen to others and have fun. We'll get people to sign this. So throughout the few weeks, if you ever encounter some difficulties, you'll be able to hold yourself accountable there. I'm just going to sign my name here. So, what do we do when we actually start? So first off, we'll come to you and do a discovery session. We don't want to sell the labs to you if we don't think there's actually a value for it. We're not going to do it just for the sake of doing it. We want to make sure that you're getting value out of this. So before actually starting the residency, we'll have a discovery session where we'll get people from inside your business, key stakeholders, architects from Red Hat and engagement leads to do something that we call impact mapping. This is where we'll actually come up with a goal. We're currently here at Partner Conference, so we've created a little example here that goes through this. So our goal here is to enable Red Hat partners to have the most awesome time at Partner Conference. Having a really key smart goal allows the rest of the residency to flow. So this is where we really get that first purpose. We'll come up with some actors, for example, partners, employees, and the Congress Centre itself. We'll have impact, so we want to affect these actors in some way. So for example, we want to decrease the number of partners missing talks. We want to increase the amount of feedback that we get back. So here we have some impacts we want to have on here. These are our deliverables. Deliverables are hypotheses. These are things that we think will actually make a difference to these impacts. As developers, we find it kind of easy to naturally go straight into the deliverable side of things. Anyone can come up with ideas. If you're doing it just for the sake of it, without relating it back to the why, you can end up with some pretty useless stuff, and we don't want to waste our effort here. So for example here we've got an automatic alarm setter to make sure you don't sleep through. So after we've done our impact map and we've seen that there's an actual business case here, we'll move on to our first week. We'll do some social contracts and team building to start off, and then afterwards we usually get into something like event storming. Now this may seem like a colourful, complicated mess, but after you know how it all works, it starts to make a lot more sense. Event storming is a way to get loads of what's in people's heads onto paper. Say you've got designers, you've got users, you've got developers. They all may have a completely different idea of what a system looks like. This is a way to get all of that into one big shared understanding. This is a living, breathing artifact. We won't just do this once and ignore it. We'll always come back to this and see if we can challenge our assumptions. It's basically similar to a user flow. So you'll start off by logging into the system, view the schedule of talks for the day, and attend a talk. We break this down to things such as events and commands. You can see the flow here, and we can group this into systems. So we're not trying to go and create a solution here, we're just trying to group things into logical aggregates. So for example, a calendar here for viewing schedules, and we can come up with some example screen layouts. This again helps people to kind of visualize what the flow will look like. So after we've created this, we'll then take these commands and events and move them into things that we call user stories. You can see it's a flow starting to appear here, and this is a lot more logical than seeing this colourful stuff here. So, if you go to a product owner and say, what would you prefer? Would you like a login page or a feedback form? I go, yes, I want both of them. Okay, do you want this or this? The answer is usually, yes, I want it all. But obviously, we can't have it all at the same time. We want to move away from that waterfall method. We want to start off with the most important pieces of technology, the most impactful things for our users, and develop from there. So for example, if you have to choose between actually being able to view a schedule and having a taxi transport request, there's no good having that if you don't know where you're going to. So we'll logically slice these out with these bits of tape here. This kind of gives you a way to visualize these slices of value. So for example, for our first slice of value, we've got an automated alarm setter, conference schedule page, and login page. We'll have these all grouped into natural categories. We'll then take this value slice and create what we call our product backlog. This is where we can kind of see the life cycle of the product. Say, at the moment we've just got a login page, schedule, we've got some doing. This is a Kanban board here, very basic for a product backlog here, but we can use this over the entire residency, and at any point we'll be able to see how far along we are. We'll be able to track our progress. So we've said we've got these doing in our example. We've created a sprint board for this 1 week sprint that we're doing currently. So as you can see, we've got a similar flow with to do, doing, review and done. We've got our user stories that we had over here, but we've broken them down into tasks. So you've got for your login page, you want to have a database. You can populate that with users. You want a back-end database to actually put that in and then get the actual user information from the people themselves. It may look simple having it up on a wall like this, but it's a really powerful tool. We've got loads of awesome digital tools that can deliver a lot of value. We really feel like having co-located teams is the best way to actually get stuff done. There's no way that you can't have to log into things, you don't have to go onto a VPN if you've forgotten your password. You can have this right in front of you at all times, and you can have a face-to-face conversation about it. Having it this simple makes it really easy to get feedback around it as well. So for example, we've got a sprint burn down here, a way to check how well we're doing. If we've got 7 days and we know that we need to get to this point, you can see that we probably need to find ways to work a little bit faster. The great way about this visualization of work as well is we can track this all the way back to the beginning. The login page, back to the product backlog, from the event storm, all the way back to the impact map. This means that if you have just come in and are viewing this but have no prior experience of what we're doing, you'll be able to be talked through it by anyone in the team. There's shared understanding there. There's no complex domain knowledge required. It's just a simple flow that allows us to create software. So if you come around onto the other side here, I'm going to give you a little touch on what happens with the technology. So in the innovation labs, we use something called a push button infrastructure. We have a OpenShift cluster, all powered by Ansible. This is just a basic example. We didn't want to go into too much of a deep dive, but we can give you more details later. This basically is what most of our residencies will look like. We'll start with OpenShift hosting all this. So we want to make the journey from making a code change to having that code in production as simple as possible. So what we do is we'll have something like Jenkins, an open source job automation server. So when you actually push your line of code, Jenkins will automatically build that. We'll have automated tests along the way to make sure that you know that your code is reliable, that it's passing and it won't break. We'll have all of this automated. We'll push it up to Nexus where it can, this is an artifact registry where we can have our containers on that. We'll bake it, so we'll basically put it into a box, put it up into a container registry, and then deploy it. This will then roll out. You can have a click to say yes if you want to. We can add in security scanning. We can really tailor this to whatever your need is. This will then roll out into a dev or a test cluster. So if you want to test it internally, or if you want to roll it completely out into live, you can do that. There's a lot of flexibility with this. This doesn't take days. This doesn't take weeks. This can be done in less than hours. We had a previous customer who used to take about 3 months. You don't have to call up a testing team, you don't have to call up a release or deployment team. You can actually do this all with a click of a button in as little as, I think, 5 minutes, one of our quickest that we've got. This really allows you to have rapid feedback, ensuring that you're always on top of your game. So one thing that I really like is retrospectives. This is key to the continuous improvement mindset. It's very easy if you're in that kind of hamster wheel of continually just developing and developing. You don't really have a chance to stop and think about what you're doing. After every sprint, we hold a retrospective. This allows us as a team to stop and come together and chat to ourselves, say, what went well? So for example, we had some automated testing. That means we didn't get bogged down by regression testing manually. We want to continue doing this because it really helps us perform. You can have some negatives. So for example, the room's too hot. It's been about 30 degrees here. It's definitely hot here. So we can now think for the next sprint, is it possible to move away from the windows where it's a little bit cooler? So you can see that this isn't just to do with the technology side. This is to do with the social and team ways of working too. So this really enables us to work as a high-performing team, technological-wise and socially. We'll try and do this as often as possible and generate actions to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable and continuing to improve. So we've given you a taste of some of the practices here. What we've developed in the Innovation Labs is something here that we call the Open Practice Library. This is our practice corner here where we've kind of put some things on that we talked about earlier, so the impact mapping, event storming, value slicing. This is a way to kind of visualize how it all pieces together on a residency. So at the beginning, we do some discovery. We're finding out about our users, what they really want. So we'll do some impact mapping, find out about the case. Event storming, we'll drill more in detail about the story. Value slicing, we'll start to actually think, right, which is the real important stuff to do here. After we've done that, we'll then go into our sprint planning. This is where we're starting to deliver. So we'll go up along here, we'll start to plan out what we're doing in this 2-week sprint. Then every single day, we'll have something called a daily stand-up. The worst thing possible is when you've been working from really hard on a piece of work and then realise that someone else has done the exact same thing. We want to make sure that those communication problems are removed completely. We have daily stand-ups to ensure that the team is completely in sync. They can talk about problems that they're experiencing and try and overcome them as soon as possible. We'll have sprint reviews as well. This gives us a chance to actually talk about what we've done in front of users and in front of stakeholders. We can then get that really fast feedback. Rather than waiting 5 months until we release the product into live, we'll get people, bring them into the lab and actually get that feedback. We can then revisit things such as our product backlog, and we might realise, oh actually, a taxi transport app would be the most crucial thing that people need. We can then reassess our priorities on the back of this. After this, as I said before, we have our retrospectives. We want to make sure that we're a fast team at delivering here. But also, we don't want to just forget about the discovery side. So we have what we call an options pivot. If we realise that we need to change direction, we can go back, possibly revisit some things that we've done here. This is the way, it's kind of key to labs. It's the very agile way of doing things. We want to make sure you can always adapt. You've also got the foundation. This really underpins everything. It doesn't fit into a single piece here. So for example, our social contract. We work with people from all around the world, and we want to make sure that everyone's cultures are respected and everyone feels safe to fully voice their opinions. So we'll have a lot of things like social contracts, we'll have burn down charts so we know that how we're doing as a team. You can have things such as stop the world events. This was taken from the Andon cords in Toyota. This means at any point, if you think that things aren't going well, you can pull that cord and we'll as a team go, okay, we'll stop working, let's have a conversation and see how we can make this better. If you want to find out more about this, it's on openpracticelibrary.com. It's a completely open source website where we don't profess to be the experts in this. We know that there are better ways of doing all this. So we invite you to contribute to it as well. There's lots of real world examples on this website too. If you'd like to hear more, have a look at this little email address here, hello-labs-emir@redhat.com. We work in 4 to 12 week residencies. You can either come onto our site, we have them in London, Singapore and Boston, where you can work on site with our team, or we can set up a pop-up lab space, either in a co-working space near to your place of work, or we can work with you there. Thanks for listening.